To me, conservation is a word that is changing in the world.
Clearly, tourism contributes towards economic development for many countries, some much more than others, but to contribute towards sustainable economic development, there has to be the recognition that tourism and tourists exert a very large impact on the environment.
Traditionally, conservation has been about fortress conservation, about outsiders coming in and protecting a particular area. Those definitions are changing. I think conservation really has to be about people and nature flourishing together as one ecosystem.
So one of the really crucial things that tourism has to be able to do is to be able to identify and quantify its own impact on the environment and make sure that that impact is minimised as much as possible, so that the contribution of tourism is towards sustainable development and not just economic development at the cost of natural assets.
Tourism can support conservation primarily through the increased revenue that some of these destinations will receive. It acts as a financial incentive for those living locally to maybe not engage in poaching or illegal wildlife trading and instead protect, natural habitats and wildlife that live there. So that's first and foremost, probably one of the most important things.
I think tourism can support conservation by first and foremost centering local communities and local people in every product and every tourism experience. So rather than seeking out mass tourism and corporate experiences, we should be centering locally owned products, locally owned restaurants, locally owned properties, and elevating those and supporting those.
I think conservation can also drive tourism. For example, if you look at countries like Uganda and Rwanda, they've invested heavily in protecting, the endangered mountain gorilla. That in turn has led then to more wildlife tourism to those countries. More wildlife tourism then means there's more revenue then to invest in protecting the habitats, to again training local people, training guides, and that creates that loop essentially that sustains itself.
So the example I'm going to give of a project that's exploring approaches for combining tourism and conservation is our project in northwest Uzbekistan, in Karakum, Pakistan, the Resurrection Island project. So our project really focuses on providing the kind of training and the capacity building, the resources needed for new tourist services and offerings, whether that's homestays, whether that's tour guides. We're piloting new tourist trails that take in a mixture of a combination of the cultural and the historical sites as well as the ecotourism sites.
There's one project that is very close to our hearts here at Wild Frontiers, and that's the Poly Poly Foundation in the Congo. John Kahekwe set up his foundation 27 years ago now. His organization has planted over 1 million trees, and he was very concerned that the lowland gorillas in the Kahuzi-Biega National Park, these animals should be preserved. They are good for the environment, they're good for tourism, which ultimately means they're good for the villagers as well.